Now, women, as we know, aged over 55 are the fastest growing cohort of homeless Australian. Now, the causes of homelessness are extremely complex and they encompass both social, economic and health-related factors. Today, I welcome 5 panellists to the stage. Now, these are our experts that are drawn from the community, and with us, they are going to explore the challenges faced by women aged over 55 through multiple lenses. So to give you some brief introductions, you've already met Wendy Mathews. Wendy did the introduction. So Wendy leads the residential team at Anglicare Homelessness Services, Women and Families. Her career has impacted positively in the community, transforming the lives of women. I'll also welcome Sonia Goodwin and Nova Evans. Sonia and Nova are co-founders of Sunnystreet. Sunnystreet is a mobile outreach unit with doctors and nurse practitioners providing primary healthcare and complex coordination services for homeless and vulnerable individuals and their families. We also have Karyn Walsh on the stage. Karyn's down at the far end. Karyn is CEO of Micah Projects, a not-for-profit organisation in Brisbane committed to social justice through service provision and advocacy to improve the lives of disadvantaged and marginalised people, including people who are experiencing homelessness. And we also have Leisl Filippu. Louisa is a founding member and manager of strategic partnerships and community engagement, and QUT HerHub. HerHub is an initiative established to support women in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So as you can see, we have some amazing women that are going to share their thoughts, views and experiences with us this morning. So I would like to pose a first question and then pick on one of you to be the first. They're all looking away now. Okay, so I would like to begin the discussion by asking each of you why we are seeing so many women over 55 experiencing unemployment, homelessness and other interrelated health issues. Feel free to answer this from personal experience or your own career experience. So, Leisl, can we take your views first?
Not really.
Would you like a mic from Wendy?
There you go. Right. I have, I'm a mature age uni student. I run QUT HerHub, Women in Entrepreneurship, but I also have a lived experience of social housing, domestic violence, addiction. So presently I'm living in social housing and I've been there for 12 years from various circumstances. And I think I've seen the tenants change and the way that tenants come in and out of the building in that time. It started with a lot of single mums and going to uni, working, whatever they were doing, and it was great and we looked after people. But then there's been a serious increase in trauma, mental health issues. So the tenants in there now have a lot of trauma, have a lot of addiction issues. And I think that as women get older, those issues, if they're not dealt with, become worse. And I just think the housing is not really that affordable. When I moved into my tenancy, my rent was $185. Now it's $320, while new start payments and I was on Austudy because I'm in uni, they haven't increased, but the rent has increased. That's 75% of market value I'm paying for my unit. It is a great location and everything, but that leaves people with just over $100 a week. I have to feed myself and a child, plus pay utilities, internet, transport, food on $100 a week. So when we talk affordable housing, we have to think what that means, what it actually means. And I think that it's not that affordable can force people to the brink of homelessness. I live on the brink of homelessness every day. It will just be one thing that changes in my life that means I can't pay my rent. And as I get older, that actually gets worse, because even with 2 degrees, I'm finding it hard to find full-time work. I do contract work. I'm finding it hard to, put food on the table. Every day is stressful, every day. So as we get older, that increases a lot. And trauma, there's a lot of trauma. And I think we forget that we need to heal the trauma. It's not just, it has to be a whole holistic picture. But I have seen things change quite dramatically over the last 10 years of who needs the housing, who can afford it. And there's a lot of older women where I'm living now. I'm 54, so any day now. And when I heard those figures, I actually cried into my pillow, because I thought, there but for the grace of God go I. And it is that it's so tenuous nowadays. And a lot of people, I'm a solo parent because of domestic violence, trauma, and we encourage women to leave those situations, but where did they go? And it's become very topical that we're like, you need to get out, you need to go. Where do you go? And where can you afford to go? And have somewhere that has that holistic healing, transition, job, all of those things together.
So, thank you, Leisl. That's a very powerful opening to our session. Thank you for sharing such a personal story. And also touching on one of the key factors about the economic situation that is so constraining for women in this age group. So, who would like to pick up from Leisl? Who got volunteers? Sonia, thank you.
I'll just add to Leisl what you're saying. It really rings true with the service that we created as well in the streets. And there's a direct link between housing instability or not being able to afford housing instability and then mental health breakdown or issues if they weren't already established. And then for what we find in the clinics and street clinics we run in a health service is then the breakdown of employment and then mental health issues and depression, things like that as well, which is really quite frightening for women, because it tends to be quite a cycle if there isn't those services that are, or someone out there really trying to encourage and supporting people.
Okay, so Wendy, Karyn, would you like to?
Yeah,
Wendy? Thank you.
I guess in terms of our service, we provide accommodation for women 18 years and over, and we do accommodate women who are over 55 or I would say even from 45 onwards. That pressure is quite significant. Whilst it is so much of what Leisl explained, we see women as well who one singular event can change the course of their life. That might be their partner's passed away, a divorce, they were living with their children and they've kind of worn out that welcome, and so they find themselves not being able to afford anywhere else. And so housing affordability is something that we see strongly. In our service, where we see ourselves as a bit of that gap filler, we are a space where somebody can come and move in, can take a bit of time to work on mental health, work on their health issues. They receive a recovery practitioner, so a case manager. They receive that kind of holistic support, and there's no pressure to move on so quickly, so that they can get back on their feet a little bit, find that resilience again to then move on to that next step. And for some people, it could look like going back to family. For some people, it's navigating the social systems of getting onto Centrelink. You know, they might have lived with their partner or their husband and they were the breadwinner, so they were the homemaker. You know, there's a lot of, I guess, complexities in that, and we help them navigate that really complex system. And so we see ourselves, I guess, seeing the mental health and the situations that come through that, and then trying to sometimes heal those family relationships and help them navigate that next step, whatever that looks like for them. Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. Karyn?
Thanks. Well, just to add what people are saying, I think the main reason we're facing so much homelessness and that it's there for women over 55 is just structural inequality in Australia is growing. There's no longer a safety net that we used to pride ourselves on. New Start hasn't gone up. If everyone should get into the ACOS Raise the Rate campaign. Women traditionally are lower paid. I mean, International Women's Day really this year was highlighting the pay gap between women, and women don't have superannuation. We saw a 97% increase over 10 years of women over 55 because of housing affordability, because people don't have it's quite simple really, people don't have an income to match the rent. And even in some forms of, as you pointed out, Leisl, that the rent goes up because it's 75% of market rent, it's not 30% of income, which is what I suppose as a social justice principle and as a safety net we used to agree as a society that 30% of a person's income was about what you could afford and still be able to have money to live and participate in society, even though these days that would still be hard because the cost of participation is high: transport, electricity, rent, cost of living. So all those things affect people of all ages, but for women over 55 there's certain sort of events that occur, as you just mentioned, that there isn't the safety net there of having had secure employment, superannuation, and there's a lot of other issues that can impact on being able to have an income and sustain, access and sustain housing.
Thank you. Karyn, I think you really touched on an important point there. We're here today to talk about women over 55 and how we can help women over 55, but what really resonated with me, and I think Leisl, you picked up on this, the problem actually starts in women's life so much earlier than 55. As soon as women come out of the womb, they are disadvantaged in many ways, educationally, through the employment sector, pay gap, etc. So these are important issues. Nova, are you keen to answer this question?
Oh, I completely agree with everything that everyone said on the panel, and I agree, it's simple maths, isn't it? But I'd like to just add to that whilst the maths is frightening, I think the thing that terrifies me even more is how socially disconnected we are. So as women, historically and throughout the ages, women have supported women, and women have created communities whereby we look after each other and we look after our families and we be kind to each other and we show compassion. In our service, over 80% of our patients don't have anyone to list as their next of kin. And so whilst we think about drug and alcohol problems, addiction problems, mental health problems, all the problems that people who are having a really rough time are facing, that statistic speaks very loudly to me, because I know that I could become homeless at any time, and I challenge everyone in the audience to ask themselves that question: could you become homeless? And if you aren't able to, hand on your heart, say, yes, I could, then I would challenge you on that. And I would challenge why. Why wouldn't you be homeless? For me, it's because I've got family and friends. But if I was in a situation whereby my social structure had fallen apart, I, over time, had to disengage due to economic constraints, the stress of life, people's stigma and judgment as things fall away, this is how people's lives fall apart. And that is why women over the age of 55 end up on the streets.